At this event, a video was going viral of an old woman being dragged on the ground as an anti-fascist activist attempted to steal her American flag. The document warns of anti-fascist activists that planned to disrupt U.S. law enforcement and military security operations at the U.S.-Mexico. You look at ANTIFA, they hold a rally in Berkeley, and then ANTIFA shows up. Again, I understand you can't figure out who these people are for the most.
Somebody from the Antifa side just threw an M80 into the crowd.
Anti-fascist activists were seeking to buy weapons from a Mexico-based cartel to stage an armed disruption of U.S. southern border operations. Documents that anti-fascist activists were seeking weapons to attempt an assault on the southern border. Andrew Cuomo actually defended Antifa as a good cause. While he did say they're not perfect, there are problems with them, it's not a good cause. It's a violent insurgency. These people, back in August, Antifa clashes with police and journalists in Charlottesville and D.C. This was the second Unite the Right event, which had almost no attendees, but Antifa still attacked journalists and police. Two things about the anti-fascists. One, the Antifa...
I know a guy who was down here he's a self-identified progressive liberal who flat out said the only time he ever sees instigation, it comes from the Antifa. I mean, far right. Well, in Berkeley, Antifa was throwing explosives at people.
A couple of Marines were minding their own business when a group of anti-fascists started asking them if they were Proud Boys, then started spewing ethnic slurs at them. But Marines testify about the Antifa mob they say attacked them in Philly. Update on this attack on Marines by Antifa. DC Antifa leader is the third man charged in Marine attack in innocent people being attacked by Antifa. DC Antifa leader arrested for multiple violent felonies. Alcoff is an organizer of Smash Racism DC, the Antifa group responsible for mobbing Fox News host and DCNF co-founder Tucker Carlson's house, in the fact that he was part of the Antifa group that beat up a Jewish man. Who want to address all these lovely people who like to make up lies and claim that I've changed. One person posted recently that I discovered a conservative grift and that I started opposing Antifa when I realized Trump supporters liked it. Journalist Andy Ngo, for most of you are probably aware, he was brutally beaten yesterday by Antifa. I wonder why Antifa would be putting quick-drying cement in their milkshakes. Here's the difference with Antifa. They get defended in the press relentlessly. Crazy psychopaths wearing all black, throwing bricks through windows, and beating people. You know what's really funny is there are people who are like, Tim, why are you calling out Antifa? You've changed. Where is mainstream media? I'll tell you where they are. Defending Antifa. You know what's really, really funny? Let me see if I have the right tweet here. Steven Crowder tweets, Antifa attacks. I recognize it's not a good example of Antifa unless you really want to claim that people back in the World War II era when the country was like 90% white and you weren't allowed to cohabitate with people of a different race, you think that was a good time. And this is a Freedom Tunes cartoon where Seamus makes this point. A bunch of SJW Antifa types bring a bunch of World War II soldiers to the future, and then they realize these people hold pretty culturally insensitive views, I'll say to say the least. To act like they are in any way like Antifa today. Actually, I take that back. Antifa is a bunch of racists, so I think it's a really great point to bring up. You can't teach Antifa not to hit. They're just going to do it. And when they do, we will call them out because they're monsters. They're psychopaths with delusions of grandeur. The Antifa is a branded cell, okay? I've talked about branded Antifa cells before. A lot of people... Ian Miles Chong. Rose City Antifa, the group of anarchist militants responsible for organizing Saturday's protest in Portland, where Andy was assaulted. I don't want Antifa banned. And in fact, I'm actually glad Antifa wasn't banned. Fighting fascism? Sounds like fascism to me. I get it, Antifa aren't nationalists, so they're not authoritarian. I would appreciate it if Brian did a little bit more and talked about the attack on journalists and the threat Antifa poses. Journalists know that Antifa is dangerous. How often do we see Antifa, black bloc anarchists, violent leftists committing extremist acts at protests? They all know it. We've got videos of journalists being attacked. Even at one point, Vox did run a story about Antifa attacking journalists, surprisingly.